This is Wayne Smith of Script Kitties showing the incident report of the Packet Tracer Network for the AFA, Air Force Association, for the first round CPXVI. First, we had to set the external DNS server to 44.102.3.101. Because if the DNS server IP address is not set, then nobody can communicate with that server. They can't get to the website, and it's just not a fun thing to happen when you can't reach the site you need to get to. Moving on, we have switches. Every switch has the correct secret password, which is a password to log in to the secret, also known as kind of like the root. And they all have the correct name and VLAN IP. Again, with the IP, if they have the wrong IP, no other devices can communicate with the switch. And they all need to have the correct name, so you know what name to go through and configure as well, and can see. Which here we have every switch has the correct secret password here. And then for remote site switch 1, we renamed it to remote site switch 1, but just no spaces, and also it's capitalized. And we set the VLAN 1 IP address to 51.24.11.2/26, and set the correct default gateway with the /26. We also set the IP default gateway to 51.24.11.1 for remote site switch 2. We also renamed it to remote site switch 2, no spaces and capitalized. And we set the VLAN 1 to 47.55.18.2 with the default gateway /26, and we made the IP default gateway to 47.55.18.1 for campus layer switch 3. For campus layer 3 switch 1, we went through and configured every gigabyte Ethernet internet ports and put the correct IP address and subnet mask. And also we went through and configured 3 different VLAN connections to their correct IPs and subnet mask. So you can see for gigabyte Ethernet 1, slot 1, we did 34.130.13.2 with a default gateway /24. And for the same gigabyte Ethernet 1, but slot 2, we put it on 47.13.220.5 with a default gateway or subnet mask of /30. And for slot 3, we did 47.13.220.9 with default gateway /30. And for slot 10, we did 57.21.1.1 with the same default gateway as the rest, besides slot 1. And for the VLAN, we set it to 91.16.3.1, default gateway /24, and the VLAN 10 is 47.13.10.1 /24, which all the VLANs are the same connection. And then VLAN 20 is 43.18.156.1 /24 as well. With Campus Switch 2, we changed the host name to Campus Switch 2, no spaces and also capitalized. And we set its VLAN 1 to 91.16.3.8 default gateway /24. We made the default gateway to 91.16.3.1, and we configured the FA0 ports to be assigned to certain VLAN connections. VLAN 1 is set to 91.16.3.8 /24. And we use an IP default gateway command to set it to 91.16.3.1. And then we also configured FA0 slot 2 and assigned it to VLAN 10. And we also configured FA slot 3 and assigned it to VLAN 20. And we configured FA0 slot 1 and gigabyte Ethernet slot 1 to be trunks and allow only VLANs 1, 10, and 20. And then Campus Switch 3, we changed the host name to Campus Switch 3, no spaces, and it's capitalized. And we set the VLAN 1 to 91.16.3.9 /24. we made the IP default gateway to 91.16.3.1, and then we configured and set the FA0 ports to be assigned to certain VLANs. We configured port FA0/2 and assigned it to VLAN 20, and then configured FA0/3 and assigned it to VLAN 10. We configured FA0/1 and Gigabyte Ethernet/1 to be trunks, allowing only VLANs 1, 10, and 20. Moving on to this disaster recovery router, we renamed it to DRS switch 1, and we set its IP address and submask. So VLAN 1 is 57.22.1.2/24, the correct subnet mask. And we set the IP default gateway to 57.22.1.1. Moving on to routers, every router needs a correct secret password, correct name, IP address, default gateway, and subnet mask. And all of those are for other device communication, so other devices can reach the router. Also for configuring, and secret passwords are used for keeping unauthorized people out of the machine so they can't get in and get root access and change all the policies and configurations to the router. And you need the correct name so you can identify the network, you can identify the device on the network, and it makes it easier to troubleshoot and manage. It needs the right IP address so the devices can communicate. Same with the default gateway and subnet mask. It's setting what devices can and cannot communicate with that device. And every router has a secret password. This and remote site switch router 1. We changed it to remote site switch router 1, no spaces, no caps. We set remote site switch router 1 to Gigabyte slot 0, Gigabyte Ethernet slot 0 to 47.13.220.6 with a subnet mask of 30. And we set Gigabyte Ethernet slot 1 to 51.24.11.11.1. This subnet mask is /26. And the disaster recovery router 1, we renamed it to DRR router 1 and configured the Gigabyte Ethernet ports and set the correct IP address and subnet mask. So for Gigabyte Ethernet slot 1, set to 57.21.1.2, the subnet mask is /30. Gigabyte Ethernet 0/1, set it to 57.22.1.1, the subnet mask is /24. We went through and configured every server and site PC and campus PC to the correct IP address and subnet mask, default gateway, and DNS. Without the correct IP address, no machine can communicate with each other. So if I had the wrong IP address, I could not ping remote site 1 PC to remote site 2 PC because I won't have the right IP address. Same with the subnet mask. It's setting what devices can communicate with each other, allowing them what they can and can't communicate with each other. We also set the default gateway for device communication, and then also the correct DNS, which was at the very beginning, which if you can't access the DNS, you can't access anything because that is the main server. And here at the footer we have the CPXVI packet tracer README, which goes through everything that was needed on the network and that we also configured. And that concedes the packet tracer AFA incident report.